if you're seeing this live, or if you're seeing it on replay. Regardless, I've got a great show lined up for you today. And that lovely, beautiful, glowing young woman next to me is Jennifer Rose Goldman. And Jennifer and I met a couple of years ago when I was first starting one of my businesses, Body Soul Beauty. And I heard about Jennifer's products. My friend Paula Jennings, who's also been on the show, if you guys have seen her. Paula told me about one of the products that Jennifer had created, and I wanted to hear more about it. So we met, and
I'm so sorry. My dogs are going crazy. Let me just let Lynn continue to introduce me.
I will.
What's going on down there?
I will. We love our animals. My cats are sitting over there on the radiator vent, but they're quiet. Jennifer's dogs, however, are not. But it sounds like she's got them under control. Anyway, I met Jennifer a couple of years ago. I was fascinated not only by the products she was creating, but by her story. And I'm going to tell you why as I read her bio. And you're going to see why I was impacted and why you're going to be impacted too. So Jennifer is a wellness entrepreneur by trade and a mental health advocate and motivational speaker by heart. Her life-changing journey to emotional wellness informs everything she does. Depression darkened every corner of her youth until a wilderness intervention at age 16 sparked her journey of self-discovery and holistic healing. Since then, she has achieved a dual BA in religious studies and philosophy from Skidmore College, became an expert certified in diverse range of holistic healing practices, and acquired a unique skill set to thrive as a successful CEO and an entrepreneur in her daily life. She's a 300-hour certified advanced clinical aromatherapist, a 3-time certified 200-hour yoga teacher in the Hatha, Vinyasa, and Kundalini traditions, a certified Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 practitioner, and an expert in mindfulness, meditation, and positive psychology. Now look at her. This is a resume of somebody who's like 100 years old. She is not. So
I've had 100 lifetimes.
She has, if people out there say, oh, I'm busy, this is an incredible amount of work for someone who is so young. So as a senior in college, she incorporated Essential Rose LLC out of her campus dorm room, which has grown from a modest stovetop apothecary to the first ever mood balancing beauty brand for health, for emotional health and healthy skin. That's so incredible. I love that. Obviously, anybody who knows me knows that I love that part of the story as somebody who suffered from depression as a adolescent and young woman. In 2018, Essential Rose completed the 10,000 small businesses through Goldman Sachs and Tory Burch Foundation, and has since worked to connect with potential investors and partners to expand the company. And I will say successfully, because she's expanding. Currently, she is expanding the manufacturing, growing her retail partnerships, and scaling her e-commerce to direct to consumer. So that's very exciting. Ultimately, Jennifer's goal is to create a thriving philanthropic wellness empire that shifts an outdated and toxic beauty industry paradigm where women's insecurity and self-loathing are perpetuated through superficially marketed products. And we all know, even though we love beauty products, that is true. Instead of selling beauty driven by external appearance, she is here to equip them with products and skills that they need to thrive and experience sustained and well-being and self-love. So that mission is gorgeous. It's beautiful, Jennifer. So, um, you say in the very first sentence of your bio that your life-changing journey from emotional, to emotional wellness informs everything you do. Share that backstory and why you've gotten to that point through the challenges you went through as an adolescent.
Yeah. So, I went through this wilderness intervention when I was 16.
And what does that mean? Tell us.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay, good. It
So,
sounds exciting, but I don't think
it wasn't. Yes, I guess it was exciting in some ways. It was very traumatizing. But so basically, what happened was, I was really unhappy. I was suffering from depression and anxiety that just was chemical and situational and energetic and a bunch of things combined. And I was really going down a bad path. I had no skills. I've been in therapy in and out since I was 5, and I had no skills, even with that, to cope with stress, to cope with my emotions, and to love myself. I hated myself. And this is something I've said before, but the consequences of not fitting in and not feeling good are self-destruction. So I was on a path to self-destruction. And what that looked like was just really excessive drinking, like near hospitalization every weekend, coming home. This was before obviously driving. So like parents would pick me up from these parties and I'd be blacked out and
How old were you?
it was like when I was 14, 15, 16. So, yeah, I was violent and I was smoking pot like during school. And then I also, like, I got really good grades and I was on all these sports teams. And so I was like really wearing this mask and, was hiding even from myself my own like downfall because I'm like, oh, well, I'm getting like A's and I'm in AP classes, whatever. So
The downside of being a brilliant a brilliant person. You can do too.
well, yeah, I think most brilliant people are the ones who suffer from depression because there's a lot to be depressed about when you really think about the world. So I think, yeah, there's definitely a correlation between intellect and intelligence and sensitivity and mental illness because we just feel so much and we think about so much. So, yeah, like, and that's, I think so many people use their accolades and they want the car and the job and the partner and the family, but they don't know how to feel good within themselves. And so that comes crashing down. At some point, it will. I feel very fortunate that for me, it came crashing down when I was so young because I was able to take the steps from this young age to build a completely new life. So, what happened was, I was really unhealthy, and it was like when I was supposed to be thinking about college. And if you would ask me where I wanted to go to school, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to study, I had no idea. I didn't know if I was going to be alive. Like that was my answer. I don't even know if I'm going to be doing any of it. Don't know if I'm going to be alive. I couldn't see it. And so my parents sought guidance and they went to this like a guidance counselor, and basically she said, Jen is not going down a good path, and even if it's not something that is just going to work itself out. Like you can't risk her life. Basically she's not safe here at home. So
And you were living in Long Island, correct?
I was living in Long Island, yes. And yeah, were you going to ask something else?
No. No, that's it. I mean, you were in the New York area, and
I was in the New York area, and yeah, it was just very toxic. It was toxic at home. It was toxic at school. There was, again, I didn't have skills. I didn't have tools. So what happened was they organized I call it a wilderness intervention, but basically they had these people come and pick me up in the middle of the night, in the middle of junior year of high school. It was a Thursday morning, March 9th, 2007, and on an unassuming morning, and I was woken up and told I had to get dressed, and I was going on a flight to Georgia, and that was it. I couldn't bring anything with me besides my iPod, but not a charger. They were like, "You won't need a charger where you're going." So I got dressed, brought my iPod, and went in the car, went to the airport, and embarked on this journey. And it ended up being living outside in the wilderness in the middle of the Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia for 10 weeks. And then found out about 3 weeks in that I wasn't going home. I wasn't going back to high school. I wasn't going home. And so I found out instead that I was going to what was called an emotional growth boarding school, which was just a therapy school. And that's where I went. So my parents picked me up 10 weeks later. They drove me to the boarding school. And it was a year before I actually came home for a visit. And it was 2 years before I finished the whole program. And that's where I finished.
What was your attitude like from the time you had these people show up in your bedroom to the time that 10-week period? Just kind of isolate that 10 weeks for us. What was your growth, if anything, within that 10 weeks? Or after the 10 weeks, were you bitter? And I mean, knowing that you really didn't have much choice in this matter unless you wanted to escape in the middle of the night.
Yeah. So okay, so I am writing a book, and so this is kind of all in there, but I somehow, I don't know, maybe because I had been in therapy since I was 5, I had some, emotional intelligence, not a lot though, but I just knew that there was a choice. It didn't feel like there was a choice, but I knew that the only choice I had, either way I was going. These people were like 10 times my size in every direction, and I was going. So I just knew in the moment, I don't have a choice, but I do. Either I'm going to choose to go, or I'm going to be dragged out of this house.
Mhm.
And I chose to go. And so I didn't put up a fight. I didn't resist, because I knew I was going. And the only power that I had left in that moment was to choose to go. So I got dressed. I walked out the door. My parents asked if they could give me a hug. I said, no, I hate you. And then I left. And when I finally got to the woods, like literally trees in a mountain,
Mhm.
that's when I got very, very depressed, because I had no control over this. Well, I did, but I didn't. And I didn't know when I was leaving, what was happening. I didn't know, they didn't tell you anything. So I got very, very depressed and felt, it was like the worst I've ever felt. Just so completely low and depressed and heavy and suicidal. And so then I got put on suicide watch, because I'm like, I'm going to kill myself. And they're like, no, you're not.
Right.
I'm on suicide watch. But over time, it was so like, it was this kind of thing where you simultaneously do not know how you could possibly survive another moment, but you're also somehow okay with being in the moment.
Mhm.
That's what this was like. So it was like anytime I would feel out of control or just completely overwhelmed, it was like coming back to the moment and just being there in the woods, in nature. It was all simple. We didn't have to do schoolwork. We were just in the woods with ourselves. It was a group of girls that were like anywhere from 15 to 20 girls at any time that were part of it. So I grew comfortable, but also always wanted to leave, but was also comfortable with the simplicity of it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to explain because it's very contrasting things at the same time, which is life. That's the way life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then from there, again, when I find out I'm not going home, again, it seems like there's no choice, but there's always a choice. So, was I going to choose to accept this and surrender? Or was I going to put up this fight and go anyway? I have too much pride for that, frankly. So I was like, no, I'm going to choose that. I'm going to choose to accept.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah. So that's what I did. I gracefully, just surrendered to it. And I went along with the process. And then boarding school was really, so the woods was really this simple place. It was starting to take off the masks, recognizing there was an issue. The work wasn't really that deep. Boarding school was the deep dive into the deepest parts of my pain and just opening the wound and seeing what was there. But the problem was that they didn't give you any skills to navigate daily life. Like, I know that I may feel deep down not good enough, but how's that going to help me when I get fired or I'm in traffic, or you know what I'm saying? So that's why when I left the boarding school, I was like, this is not, I need more. I need skills. I need tools. Also, because I have depression and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, if I'm going to be, I need to be equipped with things that can help me balance the chemistry of my brain. That's what it was. And I was on and off medication before I went through it. And then when I was in college, I just made a very conscious choice that I was not going to take medication. And instead of taking medication, I was going to have to work really hard to balance my brain every day. That's why I went on the journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew it would be work. Either way, it's work.
Mm-hmm.
What was the work that I wanted to do? Was I able to commit to practices every day to actively balance my brain? Because that's what I need. That's what I need. So, yeah, I just jumped, I went ahead a little bit, but.
So when you went from the wilderness,
Yeah.
In the wilderness, did you bond with anybody during those 10 weeks? Or were you pretty much, by yourself?
No, it's very group centric. I mean, you are in the woods with girls your age who are there for all sorts of reasons, who are so emotional and going through so much, and all you have is each other.
Mm-hmm.
And also the way that they structured the therapy was very group centric. There, you had to pass through sort of like phases.
Mm-hmm.
So the first phase was reading your parents had to write you a letter of why you were there. And you had to read this letter to the entire group.
Wow.
So that's obviously a bonding moment because you're reading your parents' words of your impact on the household in front of everyone. That's where I first learned about masks, which is in the book. Because I had a lot of them because, I was very functional. And so I hid from myself that there was a problem. I was an A student, I was very functional. So when I read from my parents' words what it was like to have me as a daughter and how I impacted the family, that's where the contrast, but I do so well, but there's a problem here. And so it was like taking off the mask of the shiny accolades that were sort of I was using to feel in control of my life. Yep. So anyway, I digress.
No, but there is no right or wrong. I'm going into places that are all part of the backstory because
Right.
I think they're certainly so fascinating.
Mm,
And I'm sure there were deep feelings at every part of
mm,
this journey. And
mm,
the feelings, I'm sure, changed as you were able to really take that mask off and see more of who you were, and either decided that that part of who you were you liked, or that part of who you were you didn't like, and you wanted to set out
right.
to change that person. So fast forward, you're out of the wilderness,
Yeah.
you're
There were
into
a lot of bonds, and
school.
that's how you get through it. Fast forward, go to the boarding school, also the bonds, because you're
Sure.
bearing your deepest pains. You have to do it all in front of everyone. That's how it works. You progress with a peer group. It's group centric. So, and then from there, I went to another little gap year in the south of France. I was there for 6 months in a house, an old like vineyard, I don't know, home in a vineyard village in the south of France. And, just kind of trying to integrate back into the real world, even though that's like not the real world.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite places in
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
Who has seen my Facebook page recently? We were just there.
Yeah. And then from there, because my parents didn't want me to go right to college from this whole experience. So that was what the gap year was. And then I went to college finally.
So you actually were doing studies during your therapy year.
Oh, you mean like holistic thing?
No, I mean your education was continuing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I graduated from the
Right,
boarding school. That's where I graduated high school. And then the gap year was just extra classes to keep me busy and
right.
try to integrate me back into the world. So,
So you must have done very well because you got into Skidmore. So I guess that, intellectually, you never had that part really damaged. You were always able to get good grades,
yeah.
obviously.
Mhm.
What experience were you able to take in college or to college after this? Did you feel you were
God.
were you confident? Were you feeling that the past couple of years were productive and you felt really good about yourself? Or did you feel, oh my God, I still have a lot of work to do on that part of myself, and here I am in college?
Um, college brought out a lot of different things, feelings of not fitting in, not being normal, being different. I guess those were the ways that I always felt, but it brought it out in different ways. Just I don't know why. I think all the peer pressure, you're trying to make friends, you're trying to focus. I still didn't know who I really was. Um, and then on top of that, it was like, oh, but now I'm like super emotionally intelligent about when I'm feeling not good enough and insecure.
Right.
Okay.
That awareness, you at least had awareness about yourself.
Which is a blessing and a curse
Sure.
when you're 18, 19, 20 years old. Who wants that awareness when they're trying to like smoke weed at a party? No one wants that. They just want to smoke weed and like make friends and be normal. Okay. So, because I had this awareness, it made me feel even more different in a lot of ways. It was harder to like dull it down. So, college was really this test of how do I nurture this awareness and love it and take care of it while also doing the things that a typical college kid does. A lot of self discovery, a lot of rediscovering my worth through negative relationships, uncovering my passion, and getting clear about really what I'm doing, and also feeling comfortable owning that I love to learn and that I'm a student first, and just putting aside that peer pressure and feeling confident in like mastering my studies. That all kind of happened over the 4 years. And really, what helped was a relationship that I was in my junior year was like this, this guy. He was like that guy. Everyone wanted to be with him, but he was super studious and he was like this mystery. And he was like studious, but like super cute and like on all the teams. And because he was so studious, it just gave me permission to just dive in. And so, not like I needed him, but I guess, in the sea of everyone else who really was just smoking a lot of weed and like not even going to class, it was like, oh, there's this person who's really taking this seriously, and I respect that. And I'm just going to focus on that and myself. So, it, junior year, I committed to doing this crazy thesis that was about energy as the gateway to enlightenment in Buddhism. It was like an 130-page thesis that I wrote.
Oh my God, Jennifer,
It was crazy.
you're a vampire. You never sleep.
No, to be honest, that was so crazy. Like, I was up the night before this was due. I had it all printed out, and I was like, I did not sleep for like 48 hours.
I'm sure.
But that's what I was like so passionate, because I wanted to understand the subtle body. Okay, what is the subtle body? The chakras. That's what I wrote my thesis about for philosophy and religion. So I wanted to know. I wanted to understand it myself. So I was really seeking. I was studying, majored in philosophy and religious studies. And then I would go into the town of Saratoga Springs, which is very progressive and spiritual. And I would meet with all of these different practitioners. I'd go to yoga. I'd go to acupuncture. I would go, they had an integrative wellness center called One Roof, where it was a big house. And there were all these rooms, and different practitioners had rented out each room. And I would just go and study all of these things. And, it was the more that I immersed myself in that, the less I felt this peer pressure, and just the more that I felt. But like, people still thought I was crazy because I'd leave, everyone's like on campus, just hanging out. And I'm like, I'm going to go into Saratoga and I'm going to go to like all these appointments and talk with these people. And I just made this extracurricular curriculum, basically.
Right.
So, that was what happened. And from that, I got really interested in all things holistic. And I had a friend who was like way ahead of me, from California. His room was like, I don't even know, like a temple. And he'd like wear a robe, and he had herbs and oil.
Very cool.
It was very cool. I'm still very, very close with him. And something like clicked about the herbs, and just how I could use plants to do magical healing, real things. And so, I don't know how this happened. I had an inspiration that I was going to start an on-campus college apothecary. And that is where Essential Rose was born. So what this was called was Skid Apothecary. I went to Skidmore College. It was Skidmore College Apothecary. And I just started ordering these herbs and oils, and like Googling Rosemary Gladstar on, her recipes, and just making things. And this was now my senior year. And that's why I incorporated Essential Rose, because I was like, this is what I'm going to do somehow. The name Essential Rose, my middle name is Rose, and something we wanted essential oils and rose, the symbolism of the rose. And so we put it together. And that's really how it all happened.
That's so great. So, okay, You're graduated from college. You've got this little sideline, this side hustle. What happens next?
So then I took the seeking to an even more legitimate place. I got certified in all of these things. I went to the Bahamas through Shivananda Yoga. I did my first yoga training. Then I did 2 more yoga trainings. So now I'm a 3-time, 200-hour certified yoga teacher. Then I study aromatherapy. I do a 300-hour clinical training. I study mindfulness. I study Reiki. I just studied everything, but like in the form of programs.
Mm-hmm.
Put it all together. And what happened was I was working at a wellness center as the executive assistant to the owner, and they kind of put me on the spot. And they were having a yoga weekend, this famous yogi, Kino McGregor, this crazy Ashtangi yogi. And they're like, we want okay. So before Essential Rose was oils, it was a tea line. And so they're like, Kino McGregor's coming. We want your teas. So I had to make teas. And that was the first time I ever sold anything. And I had no idea how to make, they wanted iced teas, or maybe I came up with the idea that iced teas would be really cool. So I went to Brooklyn. I found a warehouse. I bought all of these bottles. I drove them. Oh no, I didn't drive them. I took them on the train. I don't know how I did this. And I made all of these iced teas and I sold them. I sold all of them. And it was like, now what?
Right.
So then I was like, how do you get iced teas certified? Can they be shelf stable? I did this whole thing. I went to Cornell. They have a food lab. But while this was happening, this was when I was doing the aromatherapy. And through the aromatherapy, I became very clear that the oils needed to be alive. There just needed to be oils in here. And so it was tea and oils.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for a year or so. I had teas and I had oils. I think, yeah, you got some of the teas, right? Okay, yeah. And but what happened was I realized they're really 2 different businesses. They were 2 different business plans. They would have to be manufactured in 2 different places. I'm like, no. So I just went with the oils because that's what I was selling more easily. And I thought I could get behind them more. I found them more powerful. So I got really into the oils. I created a line. I started doing farmers markets. Because I'm like, I want to sell things. I don't know how. I don't know where. What do I do? And I just went to farmers markets, which was actually such a good step because it was like a little pop-up shop consistently. And I'd have people come back and I get feedback. And it was like market research and development of the line. So I refined it.
Yeah, those are great venues for startups.
Yeah, it was a good place to have my little store, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I'm like, okay. But so I'm selling these at farmers markets, but they're like in a blue bottle with no label. So I'm like, they can't sit on a shelf this way. Like this can't happen. So then I'm like rebranding, and then I get my first wholesale account like then the following February with the Alchemist Kitchen, which I'm still in to this day. I feel so fortunate that I got that.
It's wonderful. It's good placement for you.
It is. And it's just been, I don't know, it's just been growing. I mean, there's so many different things that have happened, but that's really how it all started.
So how did you go from young woman at the farmer's market to getting that scholarship from the Tory Burch Foundation?
I don't know. How did I do it? So I did this. If I could do this again, I would do it differently. So what I did, I wish that the first thing that I had done, but okay, wait. I never studied business. I never studied anything business. I didn't know about business, okay? So that was the first thing. So now that I know about business, the first thing that I would do if I was going to start a business would be to find advisors.
Mhm.
And so because I didn't do that, I didn't have resources. Like my family, I come from entrepreneurial family. My mother has a business, my father, different industries, completely different. Yes, of course, they've been helpful, but they don't know the ins and outs of what I'm doing.
Mhm.
So I was in a very, this has been just such a journey because I haven't had advisors until now. And so because I didn't have advisors, I was constantly like looking for help and guidance. And so I don't know, I'm on the train coming back from the city, going to Long Island or something. And I just Googled like women, women business incubators. And the Tory Burch one came up and I applied on a whim on my phone on the train. It was like a desperate thing. And they called me in for an interview, and that's just what happened.
Oh, that's fantastic. So did you have to bring samples? Did they ask you for a business plan?
No. So I did bring my products. Yes, I brought a bunch of stuff because I'm like, I'm just going to give it to everyone.
Yeah.
We didn't have to have a business plan, but we needed to submit financials. The whole course was basically helping us write a business plan
Mhm.
and come up with a growth opportunity in the business and just giving us like the language around the business. This was my first business course.
Wow.
So I'm very grateful that I did it. That
So
being said, it was really just the start of my business education.
yeah. How many people now, this is not something that everybody who interviews gets accepted to. How many people are able to do this?
I mean, there were 35 women in my class, but I don't know. I don't know. I think
I think they take hundreds, if not thousands of applicants. So they
yeah.
must have really loved what you were trying to do. And it is a very special mission, as I said. It's a beautiful mission.
Mhm.
Um, and now, so you through with Tory Burch, you're graduated, you've got this business plan in hand. What happened next?
What happened or what's happening now?
No, what happened? Because I know that was about at least a year ago, right, Jen?
Yeah. So what happened was I thought I had a business plan and I didn't have a business plan because I don't know if you've ever heard of the organization called SCORE.
Yes, I have.
So I had the blessing of meeting an incredible man through SCORE who felt like in love with me. He just loved what I was doing, okay, and I love him. And so after this happened, I sent him the business plan from the program and he says no. He pulls it apart. No, can't, nope. So what I did was from almost a year, like March of 2018, wait, yeah, March of 2018 through almost like February of this year, I worked with him on my business plan.
Wow.
He gave me so much. He's like, Jen, you can't tell people that, like, don't tell them that I gave you so much time because it was so much of his time. But yeah, that's what I was doing. And so, like, what I presented to him, it was just incomplete. So we went way farther, breaking down like just the cost of goods down to the cent for each product and each oil and the vision and 5 years and just all of that. And that really helped me take it to the next level. And then once that was written, he basically said what I would do is I would just get some advisors involved who can really help you take this to the next level before going out and getting some investors that your revenue doesn't even like it wouldn't even support that at this point.
Right.
So that's what I did. I changed my LinkedIn bio to like seeking advisors.
Yeah, I noticed that, which is it's a very smart thing to do. I mean, I'm going to stop you for a second, only to interject something
Mhm.
for people who are watching this who may not even think about what it takes to start their own business. it's an idea times 10,000. There is just so much that needs to go into planning, thinking, draft one, draft two, advisors, investors, consumer reaction, branding, competition, social media. This is nothing. This is like the tip of the iceberg. So what Jennifer is talking about is something that, everybody has this idea that it is, in having your own business is an extremely seductive proposition. I've talked about that because being your own boss is really wonderful and exciting. And there are stages that one can go through. You don't have to be like Jennifer, who will have a 7-figure brand. I
hope so.
You will. There's no doubt. But you can also have a small side hustle. What I'm trying to convey is you have to be realistic in so much as it is a process that never ends. Mm-hmm. And although it is exciting and wonderful, you can't put expectations on yourself that you're going to have this by 30 days from now. You have to be willing to have a lifelong journey into where this is going to take you, and be willing to be committed to it enough to go down that road. So here you are. You've got this business now. You've got a business plan. How did you decide what products to introduce? Because your products, and I want you to tell people some of the products that you have, because they're really special, and how you got to the development of those versus kind of some of the other things that you see out there.
Yeah. So before I go, I just want to add something to what you said. So when I made this product, even the teas, I'm like, oh, I love it. And God, like the universe loves it. So it's just going to be great. Mm-hmm. And it's going to sell. And I don't like it. Of course. No. Right. Not what happens. It's so hard. And if you thought that you had anxiety before you started, then, you'll learn what anxiety really is. Okay. Like, it's really hard, and it thickens your skin, and it is a daily choice and a commitment to persevere. That's what it is. Perseverance is the name of the game. It's like Think and Grow Rich. Thomas Edison allegedly failed with the light bulb 10,000 times. That is the essence of entrepreneurship. And it is possible to have overnight success. I'm not saying it's not, but that's not the majority of cases. It takes, if you are building something that you care about, that you have a vision for, that you want to be an empire or even not, it takes time, and it is a process. So that is really important. I'm very glad you brought that up. Now, what was the question again? Because I just was like, no, I have to say that.
I think it's really important. And I think it's, this show's all about women entrepreneurs. And, people watch it and they think, oh, if this is great. I loved showcasing or who you showcased and everything. But an integral part of every single story that is told is the fact that the road that we are on is a challenge and a constant back and forth, and one that you have to be incredibly committed to. So that's why I wanted you to reiterate that, because it's a passion of mine to let people know that success is definitely possible, but don't get this idea that it comes without hard work and without challenges.
Yeah. No.
So tell us about your products, because I love them, and they're all tied together with that mission that you have in terms of balance and emotion and natural and inner rather than outer.
Yeah. So Essential Rose, we have a line of 7 mood enhancing beauty products. So we use my background in aromatherapy to work on the skin and the mood. And the way that essential oils work is that when you inhale an essential oil, it goes into the limbic system of the brain. The limbic system of the brain controls your memory, your emotions, your associations, balances your hormones. So when you're inhaling the essential oils based on the chemicals in those oils, it's impacting the limbic system in different ways. So lavender, for instance, is very balancing to the central nervous system. Oh yeah. Oh my God. So lavender, yeah.
Lavender mist. And
La-
it's so divine.
So lavender, that's what it does, amongst a million bajillion things, but it balances the central nervous system. Or chamomile is high in a chemical called sesquiterpenes, which are anti-inflammatory. So when you think about chamomile for digestion and easing pain, and when you put it on topically, it deals with rashes. Okay, so they work on an external and an internal and a mental and an emotional and a spiritual level based off of how you're using them. So Essential Rose, we work with this science to create a revolutionary line of products that are truly holistically inspired. So an example is that mist that Lynn has, the
Which is so wonderful.
mist. Yes, thank you.
Oh, it
With
smells.
lavender and citrus. When lavender and citrus combine, they work together to emotionally brighten, uplift, de-stress, energize, soothe. On a skin level, they cleanse, tone, hydrate, freshen. So each product is like that. We have two, we call them mood mists, the Brighten Lavender and Sacred. We have a face oil, which is our very best seller, a body oil, a mask, and two mood rollers. And each of the products, whether they are for the skin or not, like the mood fragrances are really fragrances, they work on this dual inner and outer level. So the face oil, for example, the essential oils in there and the carrier oils like argan, rosehip, pomegranate, jojoba. They're skin cell regenerative. They promote youthful, dewy skin. They balance out the skin's oil production. But on an emotional level, rose, geranium, bergamot, rosemary are emotionally fortifying, uplifting, healing, soothing. So as you're using it, it is this inner and outer beauty ritual that is a tool for self-love and self-care.
Having that
Mhm.
as part of everything you do, I think it is not only extraordinarily heartfelt, but from a business standpoint, I think it's very insightful because of what's happening in the world in terms of people being more enlightened, people being more holistic, people being more aware of energy and balancing the energy bodies. So I think it's a great merger of, something that's very, very important to you with something that business wise is very savvy based on how people's perceptions are shifting about products that they want to use for themselves and the healing properties of oils and herbs. So, I think that's pretty great. So, what happens next? How do you remain really truthful and aligned to that mission, Jen, and grow your business? How do you see that happening? By distribution and really sticking with the products that you have, or how do you
Dog again, sorry.
We're back.
Um,
What do you do next, and how do you make sure it's aligned?
I am I think what I'm doing, let me close the door.
Puppies.
Okay. Yeah. So, what I'm doing is very specific and very mission driven. And so I'm just surrounding myself with experts who love the vision and who love me. And that means meeting with them in person. Like yesterday, I went into Manhattan. I had a meeting with this woman who reached out on LinkedIn, who is an expert in building brands and e-commerce, and showed her the full line, and she wants to help. So it's just finding these people who have done it, or maybe they haven't done it exactly, but they've done relevant things,
Mm-hmm.
and forging the partnerships, because you can't do it alone. You need to build a team of people.
Oh,
That's
you cannot do it alone.
No. So that's the first thing, is finding these advisor like mentor like people who are like, what I loved what she said. She's like, "Oh yeah, no, this can be done. Like this is," and I'm like, "It can?" I'm like, "Are you sure?" She's like, "Yeah, why are you stressing? Like take a deep breath. It's fine. It can be done." Like I'm like,
It's so great when you hear that.
no, I'm like, so that. And then, because the team you create, it has to be aligned. Like if you are doing something that you're passionate about, then, and you really care, then you need people in your corner who also really care. And then it's really taking it one step at a time. So really the vision for this company is these four pillars. And so there's product, program, community, and impact. And so when I share this with these advisors, they're like, "Whoa, this can be done, but you got to start here." And
Yeah.
and so what's the lowest hanging fruit? For me, it's the product. I have it. It's made.
Right. It's done.
Right.
Right. And the mission's done. You want that brand, as I said, you've got that part.
Right.
And
I
clarity in that is very difficult. So you've already overcome that hurdle.
Well, even that though, it's like up until now, I've been making these by my own hands. Like
Yeah.
that can't happen with a seven-figure company. So that was a big thing this year, getting the manufacturer. They've made now all the products, but we're in transition. So I'm still shipping them out, and then finding a warehouse and building this team. And so, yeah, I'm really working to get these products to this next level and increase the distribution, but also really increase the direct to consumer. So I think you've seen my Facebook ads and Instagram ads. And
Absolutely. I think you're doing a beautiful job, because one of the things that I think really works for your brand is you as the brand spokesperson, because your story is so much part of the brand.
Right.
I mean, that you can't separate that. You want emotional balance. You need somebody who's a spokesperson who can speak about a journey that, where there's relevance and credibility involved. So I think that's that's really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you've had retreats. I'm sure you're going to continue to do them. What's a retreat with Jennifer Rose Goldman look like?
So the most recent one I did was in May at Chatham Bars Inn in Chatham.
Oh, yes, it's so beautiful there. We had a self-sales meeting at that. The Cape is beautiful. This is Cape Cod, guys, if you're not familiar with Chatham. It's part of the Cape. It is extraordinarily beautiful, and the Chatham Bars Inn is really, really lovely. So
yes, and it was a very good group of women. They were very vulnerable and open, and which makes it so much easier if they're just going to tell you like their story. And what I did was I taught a number of skills. We spoke about, there was mindfulness, there was emotional intelligence. I used the products. As we're practicing things, we're breathing, we're journaling, we're sharing. So what I like to teach about is developing emotional awareness and self-love and re framing how you relate to your feelings and giving you the skills to process your emotions with greater clarity and ease and balance. So like all the things that I was always searching for, that's what I'm now teaching.
Great.
It's really, it depends on the venue. Like this was a weekend, so there were a number of sessions that we did. Um, but it's really like aromatherapy, mindfulness, emotional intelligence, actual skills, leadership development, and all ways to do that through like exercises. Like I will have you write, journal, or I will prompt you to investigate your own perceptions and misperceptions so that you can come out with a real sense of understanding and also tools to use every day. So,
Great. Great. So you'll post in the link,
yeah.
Your website and everything if somebody wants to. And then, of course, if you follow Jen on Instagram and on Facebook, you'll be able to keep up with her latest in terms of her products and her retreats. So we're going to go to the lightning round now. This has been great. And I'm sure you're going to have some good answers for this.
Okay.
Your journey is unique. Who is a person that inspired you or continues to inspire you, and why?
I mean, this is like so basic, but I just love Oprah.
I do too, Jennifer.
Love her. I mean, she really built her own businesses, her own life, her own success.
Yeah, she owns it. No question.
Yes.
No, yes.
I just love what she's doing and like her reach and her breadth and all of that. Like, I love that. And she's someone I would love to meet her, obviously. But even beyond that, I
Yeah.
have that kind of impact. Like, she is such a force for good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
She is. She is. And as somebody who I love to interview, she's a master at being able to bring people to an area in a beautiful way that allows them to really talk about who they are and become very real. So I'm very much a fan. So yes, Oprah. The best business advice you ever received?
I mean, I think what I was just saying about the team, I think that's the secret. It like if Think and Grow Rich, it's all about the mastermind. Like these people, Carnegie, Ford didn't even go to school. He didn't have an education. You don't need to be an expert in everything. You need to build a team around you who are experts in everything. But you should, I don't like should, it is beneficial for you to know at least what they're doing so that you can be educated to manage it. But a successful business is about a successful team and bringing people together who are on board with it. So wherever you're at, like,
I agree.
when you think, oh, I don't have money to pay these people, but there's always ways to work things out. Like the woman who I met yesterday, I'm not going to be paying her. We're going to work something out, but I'm not paying her right now, right? Like there's always some way to do it. So that's
shared value. The whole idea of shared value is something that, someone your age gets and espouses. People who are older have a difficult time seeing that or grasping that. But I think that, yeah, I agree with you. There's always a way to get something done if there's an alignment.
Yeah.
And, I believe that. The best personal or overall advice you ever received. And I'm sure you can, I'm sure you can talk to that.
The best personal or overall advice. I mean, this isn't so much advice that I've received, but this is what I swear by is, oh my God, you're going to love this. Oh, wait, can you see this?
Oh my God. I have it. I have it all over my mirror.
Okay, so I have it. It goes off every 2 hours.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
Did you get that from Marissa Peer?
Yes.
Oh my God. Yes. Don't you love her? It's so funny. I want to just say something. So a friend of mine, we're doing a lunch, and a reunion lunch, and I invited a friend that I used to work with who's not living in New York right now. She's living in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And she wrote back the email, "I'm really sorry, Lynn, I can't come." And I'm seeing on her signature, which is new, that she's an RTT practitioner. So I write back to her and I say, "Did you take Marissa's course?" And she said, "Yes. In fact, I can't go to the lunch because I'm going to be in London reconnecting." And so she took the live course. And guys, I'm so sorry. We're talking about Marissa Peer, who I am totally enamored with beyond. She is a hypnotist and much more than that. She was Diana's therapist. She's based in London. She has rock stars as her clients, but she also has people day to day, and she changes lives. And one of the pivotal parts of her therapy is the fact that to remind yourself constantly that you are enough. So Jen's phone just said that, and that is a trigger for Marissa Peer. And we got off course, and I'm really
do that. This is good advice. Okay. So we could talk about this advice. So Louise Hay, who I love, she always said that underneath everything, everyone just feels not good enough. Right. And so that's what I learned at boarding school too, that if you break down your negative thoughts, your pain, it all comes down to this feeling of not enoughness, enough of something. And so Marissa Peer talks about this, and it's not enough to just remember it sometimes, because you have to literally retrain your subconscious that you are enough. And so in my phone, I've set up an alarm to go off every 2 hours all day that says I am enough. And every time I see it, I say, I'm enough. I'm enough. I've done it since October 1st. I'm going to do it forever. And it's gotten to the point where even at night when I'm in bed, I wrap my arms around myself and I'm just I'm enough, and I'll fall asleep like that. It's become more instinctual to say it. So that's a side note. But I will say my advice, or what I swear by, is the importance of having a morning practice. And for me, that is meditating. As someone who has depression and anxiety, or is predisposed to those tendencies in stressful moments.
Right. I get it. I am.
I cannot not do that.
Right.
So my meditation, I actually took part of this from Pat Longo, who is the Long Island psychic medium who taught everyone. And it's a 3-part thing. It's called ground, surround, and protect. And so you surround yourself in the bubble of light. You bring the bubble in through all the chakras. Then you send the bubble out. You ground through the feet and the base of the spine into the earth. You clamp it in place so it's really rooted. And then you protect. You put on your vest of armor, protecting your throat, heart, and solar plexus. And every day when I meditate, I start my meditation that way. And it has helped so much. So that is what I would say. I mean, just as a practice, please do that for yourself. Things will shift. In terms of other advice that I have personally received, I think just being perseverant and loving the process of things, and believing in yourself, and the importance of loving what you do and bringing joy into the process and the journey. and that, I mean, there's so many things. I think those are really the main.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. It's wonderful. An app that you can't live without.
Um, I like don't. I don't know. I'm like not a tech person, but let me see what's on my phone. Let me see what I can't. I mean, like, I mean, really, like nothing. I don't use them.
Good.
Yeah,
Fine. That's your answer.
yeah, I mean, obviously, like all of social media is on there, but
Yeah, of course.
other than that, no.
A person or a social media account that somebody should follow and
Hmm.
why. So is there a person people should follow
Um,
that you do follow?
a person people should follow.
Or a website that you really like? Are you a big Gaia fan or
You know what I'm really into? Like, I have phases. Like, sometimes I'm in an Abraham Hicks way, sometimes I'm in a Tony Robbins way or a Louise Hay, whatever. But I think who's really important is Dr. Bruce Lipton and all he says about the subconscious and the thoughts that we have, and which is why I am enough is really important.
yeah,
Um, so Dr. Bruce Lipton, he is a doctor, but he talks about epigenetics, which is beyond genetics. It's how really your subconscious is what controls 95% of your life. So I would,
I'm a big epigenetics
okay, yeah. So
fan. Dr. Bruce Lipton?
yeah,
Great.
I'm like listening to what I've started to do is listen to hypnosis as I'm falling asleep, because that's when your subconscious is in a space where it can be adapted and processed. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Lowered brain waves are
right.
essential to getting anything really done.
Yeah.
So perfect. All right. Now I'm going to have something really good that you can expand on. A charity that people may not be aware of. So talk about what you're doing.
So okay, so the fourth pillar of Essential Rose, I know the advisors are like, stop, but this already exists. So it's called the Inner Rose Organization. And I have filed it with my partner, Abby Kaleo. And Inner Rose Organization is so beautiful. And what it is going to be is an organization, a 501c3 for mental health advocacy. So we are creating a 6-part curriculum that is going to help people cultivate skills for emotional awareness that we want to bring into schools and institutions and give to the community at large. So it has been filed. We are working on launching, we're going to be launching the GoFundMe on December 3rd, which is Giving Tuesday.
Oh, great. When that happens, you'll let me know and I will post it to everybody
I
because
will let you know.
Jennifer knows that that is something that I'm going to be sending, a portion of my profits to because I totally believe in that mission.
Yeah,
Um,
so important. I mean,
really important.
yes, the whole motivation behind it is the fact that we're not taught this in school. We're
No.
taught intellect, like intel, whatever. I don't know what it would even be called, IQ, but we're not taught EQ.
Yeah.
And EQ is essential for leadership, profitability, productivity, contentment, strong relationships, confidence, risk taking. Like there are thousands of studies on the relationship between emotional intelligence and a successful life.
Yeah.
So, because I didn't get this, because I've been through everything I have, I really want to offer an EQ curriculum. And so
Yeah.
it's Inner Rose, and it's, the idea that we all have this inner rose, this beautiful part of ourselves that if we have the tools, we can we can see and get back to.
It's wonderful. I of all the things you're doing, I love that the most. That's wonderful. A book, a lecture, an event, or a situation that made a difference in your life. You talked about a lot of them.
Yeah. So many books. What is like one of the most impactful that I've read recently? There's so many. I guess I'll talk about this one. Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss. That just like really started me on this journey of investigating spirituality and past lives.
Have you done a regression?
No, I want to.
They're interesting. I've done two.
Yeah, I really want to. So that was like just where I started a lot of my spiritual seeking.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great book.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting book. Well, thanks, Jennifer. Oh my God, this has been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks for being so truthful and honest, sharing your story and talking about your company. So we're going to have you back on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. So in the links after, Jennifer's going to send me the link to her website. Additional information, we'll put Dr. Brian Weiss's book on there. We'll send you information on Marissa Peer, since I Am Enough is obviously something that resonates really importantly. And I also think that, I Am Enough goes beyond, it just applies to everything you do. Because sometimes when you're in business, I find that, you're working on something and with somebody and they may fall off, and you have to know that you're still enough to get through this whole thing. So thanks, Jennifer.
Thanks so much for having me. This was great.
Oh, it was wonderful. So I'm going to sign you off, and then I'm just going to finish up the.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. It's been great. Thanks so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So Jennifer, she's kind of amazing, isn't she? I mean, she's like incredible for her age, for any age. So yes, next week, I am going to have as my guest Allison Sherwood, and she is mystical, magical, beautiful, and talented, and she creates amazing pieces. I bought this for myself last Christmas to give to myself. I'm a Leo, so the lion, which is a hallmark of anybody who's been to Venice, the St. Mark's lion. She also makes beautiful malas. She creates spells. She has a website called Deep Rooted Woman. She's all about self-love, self-care, and we're going to have a fascinating conversation with her. But one of the reasons why I wanted to bring her on now is the fact that you may want to order some gifts for Christmas. So anyway, we're going to have Allison next week. I always wrap up with who won with text tell me #talk to 866-320-6011, or put your name in the comments when you watch the show. Laura Cass won the smudge stick from last week's show. Thank you, Laura. So put your name in the comments, put an emoji, or text tell me #talk to 866-320-6011 to enter to win. And I will send you, actually this week, one of Jennifer's products, which I have. So anyway, thanks for being here. Before I go, I want to talk about one thing I am fanning, which I always do, and that is a new blog, newsletter, website called The Beat. Not to be confused with The Beat with Ari Melber, who I'm also a huge fan of. No. This is The Beat, BEET. And it is a labor of love headed up by a friend and industry giant, Lucy Danziger, who was the editor-in-chief of Self when I was at Self magazine. And she's amazing. She has created this fabulous site to talk about plant-based living. So it is something that is very au courant, and she's got great stuff in there about nutrition, about fitness, so definitely check it out. The Beet, BEET. All right. That's it for today. 8:00 tonight for the replay. If you weren't able to catch the whole show. So thanks again for being here. Love you guys. Bye.